Boys, we're recording
Gaslighting. That was the term. I like to gaslight my grandma.
We've been recording for 7 seconds.
Well, if they don't know, I gaslight my grandma. It's all jokes.
I hit record, and he said, gaslight. I gaslight my grandma. It's crazy, dude. Immediate confession within seconds. Hi everybody, I'm Matt, and welcome back to another episode of People in the Room. I'm thoroughly confused within 30 seconds of starting recording. We're doing it though. I want to hear this guy talk about either his grandmother or playing Doom on microorganisms, one of the two.
Oh, well, I mean we could get into the Doom.
Because if you guys don't know what Doom is, we were having this conversation a little bit beforehand, where we were talking about the old school, like, 80s, was it 80s? I think it was?
Yeah. Sounds about the right era.
Yeah. It's called Doom. It's a game where you go around, like, for lack of a better synopsis, you shoot demons in the face with varying guns. And so people have tried to play it on increasingly more and more stupid machines. Pregnancy tests, Casio graphing calculators, displays that were literally powered by potatoes. I can find a picture of that. And then here says something about microorganisms.
Yeah, I saw that recently. Somebody wrote Doom or had it run Doom on actual like microorganisms that were computing like each frame.
He programmed Doom to run on a display made from E. coli cells?
Yeah, that's
what?
I think that's what it was.
What? And he made a thesis on this. Ultimately, this begs the question of how biological systems might be engineered to host this classic millennial FPS. To run Doom, all one needs is a screen and willpower.
I mean, it's pretty interesting with AI now, like, because AI is like, it's all hardware, and it's kind of supposed to mimic the brain. But then having Doom run on like E. coli or like cells.
Yeah.
And I think there's developments of trying to like.
We are getting to a weird era in history.
Yeah, they're trying to engineer like.
Some kind of biological computer you can.
Yeah, biological brains, which is like. It's interesting where we're headed.
Okay, it does say though that if you wanted to play this version of Doom, to beat the game it would take you 600 years. So
yeah, so
we might need multiple generations to confirm if like getting a high score is possible on this, but I don't know.
I'd be showing my age, but the game I remember from back then was Pong and Asteroids.
Asteroids I had not heard of.
Asteroids? It's this little triangular ship that you can turn. And then
okay.
It shoots at these rocks coming in and it breaks them up.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah, that was cool.
Well, it was cool back then.
Well, yeah, no, honestly, there is still something fun to be said about that kind of style, though, you know, about, like, really old school, like, just the pixely stuff. I don't know. You can play Doom in Minecraft. You can play Doom on a voting machine. A vape pen? What?
Yeah, anything that is, like, has a computer, or, what's the term? It's anything that can be turned into, like, a Turing machine can basically run Doom.
One professor, Ethan Mollick, brought to light a 2011 study that showed how soldier crabs could be used to create organic logic gates. I am so lost.
That's interesting.
See, again, we are at a weird era in history where technology and biology are merging in ways that are just weird.
I wonder what that means for humanity. What is a human? Once you introduce the biocomputer into the human brain.
Yeah, where does the human end and the machine begin?
Yeah, have you guys heard of the Neuralink stuff?
Oh yeah, I heard the first guy got it or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody has it now.
Yeah, and he's like he's actually a cyborg, and it makes his aiming when he plays games like way more accurate.
I love that that's what he does with it.
So his thoughts control the game.
Yes.
This man gets the first. I just want to get these events straight here. This guy is the first person in human history to receive cybernetic implants directly into his cranium.
Yes.
And the first thing he does is test his aim in Valorant.
Well, for the most part, I don't know if I don't think he's the first person to have like a brain implant. Because I think it might have been done before, but obviously with the hype of Elon Musk, and he's running Neuralink. Now it's like a whole big deal.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
it's all interesting stuff.
Even if he's not the first one, I love that just there are people out there that are like, give me the chip, I will pay anything, so I can dunk on some people in these video games. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I will pay you thousands of dollars.
Well, there's a huge risk involved. You may totally go crazy.
Yeah, I don't care. Good aim in games. That's all that matters. Oh my word, the things people will do.
I feel like in any decision you make, there's always a caveat of, by you not choosing the other option, that's what you're sacrificing.
Yeah, like
because in any decision you make, it's like, oh, I'm choosing to hang out with my friends tonight, but I'm sacrificing the choice of studying for my next exam this week.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
and
every decision you make, you're sacrificing another decision.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, if you chose the other one too, where you choose to study more, it's like, hey, I'm more prepared, but my social life is going down the drain.
Yeah.
Could you have an implant in your brain that you could download your textbook to, or your
See, that's another
content?
thing. That's another.
I don't need to study. I'll just download.
There's a guy in one of my college classes that got busted for cheating on the final exam in the class. Apparently ChatGPT now lets you just upload entire documents, like no matter what size. And so this guy uploaded his entire textbook into ChatGPT and copy-pasted the questions from the online exam into ChatGPT, and it would just spit out all the answers, and he aced the thing. 100%. The way they caught him was because everyone else got like a 60, so he looked a little suspicious. For getting every single question right. But it's I don't know. Once again, we are at a very weird
like
point in history.
Captain Kirk with the Kobayashi Maru.
You said a lot of words there.
You don't know about that?
I know Captain Kirk. I don't know whatever that Hawaiian slang you just said was.
Training game they had to play, like a war game they had to play, and there's no solution to it. So he cheated by reprogramming the computer so that he could win the game.
Interesting.
That's how he became superstar Captain Kirk.
Because he
the only one ever to beat the Kobayashi Maru
was by changing the game. Literally.
So he didn't technically beat it then. He beat a modified
No, he had a creative solution. The test was really not can you beat the game, but can you do the impossible? And you kids don't even know that.
Okay, I know what Star Trek is. See, anytime I see a big franchise nowadays, I try to stay as far away from it as possible because I know the second I get attached, they're going to do something terrible to like all the main characters, and it's just not going to be fun anymore.
Yeah, it happens.
Like, yeah.
There's also just so much like culture with it, where it's like if you get sucked in, then if you want to talk about it with somebody, then they're going to get you to.
Yeah, bye-bye to any other life.
Pretty soon you'll be showing up at their Trek fests wearing the ears.
Yes. You're going to get sucked in.
When the Spock is doing this thing constantly. Oh my word.
Maybe speaking some Klingonese.
Oh, gosh. I was thinking, like what was it? Like the 80th Star Wars show just released or something like that recently. Like Star Wars has just gotten like... I'm a guy that loved the original trilogy. Those 3 movies were phenomenal. I loved them. The prequels were pretty good. Sequels I stopped watching.
Yeah.
Like, I watched 7, I watched part of 8, and I didn't care after that. We literally, I believe, it was me, my mom, and my brother went to see 8 in the theater. And about halfway through, my brother was asleep, and my mom looked at me and she's like, this sucks. She's like, do you just want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we were just like, you know, keep our money. You're a movie theater, who cares? I don't want to see this garbage.
Wow, even your mom.
Yeah, especially her mom. She was like, I don't like this. Because, I mean, and I trust her judgment on that, because she was someone that was there when, like, she is the youngest of her sisters, and so she was around the same age as some of my cousins were, and they were all super excited about like number 6 and some of the prequels coming out. So she went to see them with them and had a blast all the time. To go see this one with us, she's like, "I'm sorry for you guys. You guys missed out on like an actually good movie." So, but yeah, we never. I have no interest in finishing 8. But yeah, anyways, after the sequels, instead of just being like, okay, we should probably stop, there's what, like 10 more TV shows now on streaming services and stuff like that?
Well, if we get into those, I like a lot of them, but I do agree with you. The sequels of the original Star Wars movie series, I think took a went downhill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a thing too where like a lot of it is just supposed to be like the suspension of disbelief, you know? It's just like, okay, there's a giant hairy bear man with this space mercenary. You just kind of accept it, and if you can just look past it, it's a fun plot. But as soon as you start having to get into all of their backstories and stuff like that and everything, it's like, I don't know. I liked it better when it was just a funny bear man as opposed to like anything that was actually like deep and meaningful. Anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we could be, this is a great topic because we can segue into it every single time. I'm tempted to keep talking about this for a while, but I don't know. I guess we got to get on with our actual
I'm so
conversation.
tempted
I think
to talk about Star Wars.
I think I can resist that temptation, actually.
Oh, resist the temptation. I
Well,
see.
it's because he's going to talk about Star Trek instead. We'll talk about his little Spock ears and stuff he's got at home and everything. Talk to Klingons. Okay, so, for here we'll start with, I was literally looking through the episodes that we had done, like, last week. And we got so far off of this script, I don't think we covered anything from it. It was good conversation, but it just wasn't anything on here.
So you want to get back to the the plan.
Well, I mean,
Let's go.
if we find other stuff to talk about, I'm fine with that. But this is just like what I had, and I found was funny too, because like normally in a podcast, if I kind of click around for a bit, I can find like a bullet point on here that I can zoom in on and be like, okay, and then backtrack and find it. I couldn't find any of that. But again, I remember it was good conversation. We had a lot of passages and stuff down and ready and stuff, but yeah, again, nothing here. So if we can have, what were you going to say?
Nothing. Oh, you're good.
You sure?
Yeah,
You seemed like you were really interested and I just cut you off.
I don't remember. So.
Okay, well, anyways. So, you know, I'm just nervous now because the last guy that I did that to doesn't want to be on anymore, so.
Oh,
Anyways,
it happens.
yeah, alright. So, I guess we'll just dive in here. There's 3 questions, one of which I actually have a bunch of stuff for. What thoughts come to mind while you're feeling temptation to sin? What strategies do you try to implement to withstand temptation? And how can we model our battle against temptation after God's Word? That's the one I had a lot of stuff for, but we can hop in on any one of
Model
these.
meaning pick examples of people that have overcome temptation.
Well, what I was
What do you mean
saying,
by model?
what I say here when I say how can we model our battle against temptation after God's Word, I have like what scripture can we use to better understand just temptation in general, such as I have Jesus saying in like Matthew 5, what I have here, 27 to 30, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out. Stuff like that, where he's not literally meaning tear your own eye out. He's just saying that he takes sin and this battle against temptation and sin so seriously that he wants you to take as drastic measures as necessary in order to
Yeah,
prevent it.
that's a perfect
I
explanation.
was gonna say I like that.
Thank you.
I like the quotes directly from the Bible. That also helps.
Yeah, this guy is great at actually getting me like relevant verses and passages and stuff. I will say that much.
Except I've been gone for a literal week and a half, just tending to family situation in Iowa. So
Well, we haven't needed a
I have
script in, like,
completely zoned out
Okay.
all of the people in the room stuff.
That's
Now I'm back in the game.
Back in the game. Without Spock ears though.
Yep.
It just makes me sad.
It-
Anyways.
I don't think
Sorry, I don't know
I don't
what that
think
had
you
to do
could
with that.
play this game on a potato. But
No, I don't think so either. But no, I think we could jump in honestly with the first question here.
Yeah,
I think
I
this
do
is a
too.
good progression here.
what thoughts come to mind?
Yeah, I will say like a big thing at first off is like when I'm feeling a temptation to sin, it's normally not just a thing where it's like do it now. It's just immediately in my head. It's a thing where I've noticed with like a lot of the stuff that Satan tries to get you to do, it's kind of a slippery slope thing where it's like, well, no, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Well, what about a little more? And it just keeps going down like that.
When we get to the model, I got one for that.
Okay, sweet. But yeah, so that's just the thing I've noticed is it's a lot more incremental than you think immediately. And that's the thing I've noticed in a lot of like shows and stuff like that, where like if they try to make the main character, whatever, seem like they're going through something, all of a sudden it's just someone screaming at them, do this instead. But no, in reality, a lot of times it's...
I got something for you. You see this green, slimy, steamy stuff in the syringe? Inject it into your veins.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy to resist that one.
Yeah. It's easy to resist the literal slug I'm seeing in that thing right now.
Yeah, exactly. But if your goal is just to diet or like go to the gym, you're seeing like a couple cookies on the table. It's like one cookie can't hurt.
Yeah.
So it's incrementally. That's like, and then once you have one cookie,
it's like,
having
well,
two
I've already gone in
cookies
so much.
Yeah, having two
once you
cookies
skip
is
leg
not
day once, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say that I've noticed that just happens to everybody at some point. Like, was it I heard it's more of an anecdotal stat, but like after a bunch of surveys and stuff, they've found out that about 95% of people that commit to making a New Year's resolution have either broken it or completely lost it by the beginning of February.
oh, easily.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's a lot of stuff where maybe it's just not... I don't think that exactly has stuff to do with temptation, but I think it's more of a thing where it's like, okay, they didn't adequately plan for it or prepare and things like that as well.
It may be a temptation if you're resolved at the beginning of the year to cut your calories and lose some weight. It would be a temptation issue when you want to get off the plan.
Yeah,
Not that it's a sin issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to consume a certain amount of calories and avoid certain foods if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, just enjoy your food is fine. But if you have that goal for yourself and you want to, the temptation is easy to slip out of that plan. When it's sin, though, what is the thought that you have when you know this you shouldn't do because it's sin? Then you got this reflection moment. I imagine the Lord watching me, you know, that something I don't necessarily want to do because I would disappoint him.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a professor I respect from seminary a lot, and he was my advisor. If I had a really complex ethical problem I had to resolve, call him up. You know, he was, until he passed away, I was really close with him. Mm. But I would hear his voice in my head. It's like, you know, kind of a mentor of mine speaking into my life, and those thoughts come back.
That's interesting you say that, because I've noticed too, a lot of times, if I am really like, if the temptation I'm going through and dealing with, like I actually resist it for a while, and I'm like really in the trenches, you know, trying to like get through it and stuff, I will often like just, it's not really any thought of my own, but I'll just kind of have like some sort of like Christian song that just kind of starts looping in my head a little bit or something like that. Like, I can't really explain that.
Ooh, a song.
It's just something in my head that is related to God that keeps me remembering that He's there.
Yeah.
And that either makes me feel way worse when I actually do the sin, or I feel way better knowing that I put my faith in God and got out of it as a result. It's something interesting I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, music is powerful. You know, the way David would play his harp and the evil spirit that was pestering Saul would go away and Saul would calm down. I mean, there's something to that. Sacred music does help. I mean, it is a strategy if you have a favorite hymn or whatever it is that you like, Christian song, and you know you're slipping towards some sin you don't want to go into. Loop it in your brain.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's a pleasant distraction from the temporary pull of that temptation.
Yeah,
temptation, I mean, temptation doesn't nag on you constantly. It kind of hides itself, right? So
yeah.
So if you can get through 30 seconds of completely focus on something that you're wholesome for you, that like a song.
Yeah.
Sometimes that emergency urge goes away.
Yeah, kind of like the splash of cold water on your face or something like that. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I've noticed that, like, when I'm deep in the trenches fighting temptation stuff, it's really hard for me to do that, you know? Like, I really got to work to just, like, slowly start to click my brain back into place in that regard, you know?
Describe your in the trenches battle. I mean, whatever it is that's, like, gnawing at you, you've got to cave. Is it something that is specifically against a verse in the Bible that you could point to and say, I know it's wrong because God says in this chapter and verse it's wrong? Or is it something that you've decided for yourself that you want to improve on? Or
That's interesting you say that, because I've done some research into this, and I have not explicitly found a verse in the Bible that says that. However, aspects of it I have found, or like, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it here. Like, aspects and results of it, like behavior that comes after, or anything like that, I suppose, I have found condemnation for in the Bible. So it's something where I think, okay, while this may not explicitly be in the Bible, the stuff that comes out of it isn't, the results or the stuff that comes out of it isn't anything productive anyways, and it's actually quite negative. So the way I see it, if it's not positive, and if I'm not bearing fruit for God in it, it's not really something I should be trying anyways, especially when it, more often than not, tips me the other side.
Like, yeah, there's a couple nights where, like, I've stayed up till, like, 4, like, 5 in the morning, just, like, going on my phone or gaming. And it's, like, it's not going to say in the Bible not to game till 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
But clearly the results of doing that is, like, I get less sleep, or, like, my sleep schedule changed, or I feel groggy the next day. And, like, when I go to sleep, it's, like, I feel like crap because I spent that whole time.
Well, yeah, and you
doing
probably
all
got
that.
a solid, like, 3 hours or something like that, too, and the entire day's shot. Yeah, you I suppose you can make the argument then that's kind of actively weakening yourself or something as well.
Yeah.
That also crosses another fine line, though, of, like, well, it's not like, I highly doubt anybody cares if you do it once or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a thing, too, where
So
I
that's where
suppose it's like, if you make a habit out of it, is that really destructive, or is it, I don't know. There's a lot of
I like
questions.
applying the scale to decisions like that. Does it make me a better Christian or a worse Christian? What kind of things make you a better Christian or a worse Christian? I have a lady that used to smoke, and she was so addicted she couldn't quit, and she felt horrible, like, I'm a worse Christian in the world because I can't quit this habit. And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's examine that. Are you a worse Christian? Are you a better Christian if you quit? Does the quality of your Christianity have anything to do with whether you smoke or not? And honestly, there's an indirect implication that you could be a good steward of your health or your money.
Yeah, I notice a lot of people love to bring up that verse, like, your body is a temple of the Lord.
It's got nothing to do with smoking.
Well, I know. Yeah, I'm just saying, I know a lot of people bring that stuff up. I've heard that a couple of times.
Right. So the one I'm thinking of is, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are profitable.
Yeah.
All things are lawful, but I will not come under the power of anything. So the idea of an addiction having a power over you makes you a little less equipped to spontaneously and joyfully serve the Lord, because you've got this thing hanging over your head.
Because you've got something else you're subservient to,
Right.
as well as
Now, honestly, smoking's not mentioned in the Bible. They smoked in Jesus' era. There's some Egyptian mummies that have tobacco in their system. I mean, or nicotine.
I didn't know that. That's actually interesting.
Nicotine in their system.
nicotine.
Yeah.
In the Egyptians.
In their
Really?
in the mummy. I read an article on that. So I mean, it was there in the day, and it wasn't really harped on as a problem. I'm not saying. I mean, I think you're free. If you're a smoker, you shouldn't consider yourself a worse Christian because of that. And if you really want to quit, it's hard. I mean, I've never had to quit because I've never started in the first place. but I care about some people that feel horrible because they do it. And I just apply, well, would quitting make you a better Christian? Well, not really. We're in the Bible. Does it say quitting that would make you a better Christian? But it might. If you, for yourself, say, Lord, I'm spending this money, I'm incurring these health risks, I want to be a better, more vigorous servant and more free with my money to be able to donate to the cause.
Yeah.
And then you make a choice for you and seek the Lord's strength to do that. Anyway, this lady did quit. And you know, doesn't make her a better Christian, but what made her a better Christian is that she wanted to be a better friend to the Lord. Right? The Lord offers a free friendship to us, and the whole Christian life is really about being thankful for that and trying to be a better friend back to God.
Yeah.
So you give him some of those, you give up some of those personal things you might be free to do, so that you're more fruitful in the service.
Yeah. I think that actually does tie in a lot to what you and I were saying, of like, even if the act might not be that bad, what it results from that act can be the detrimental part, such as not having enough money to going to church, or just feeling like the other stuff you were saying. I already blanked.
Yeah, stewardship of your health. You know, you could have more vigor and energy if you didn't smoke, perhaps, or whatever.
Yeah, anything that you do can be drawn from the Bible. Like, it doesn't explicitly say, because obviously nowadays everything's so modern, and, you know,
there's a lot of
2,000
stuff
years have gone by, you know, so, but you can extract meaning from the Bible and apply it into your life.
Yeah,
whatever
extract
for you.
meaning. I like
right,
that.
right. So you have in the Bible there are imperatives, grammatically saying this is a command, right? So those things set a boundary.
Yeah.
Within the boundary, you have principles that apply, and the main number one principle is to be a better servant of God, or better, you know, more devoted, or whatever. So then you think about things that are not explicitly mentioned, and you make an application for you. I make an application for me. I'm not your judge. You're not my judge. We walk a different set of issues, and I mean, my weaknesses are not your weaknesses, and my strengths are not your strengths. So we may apply those things differently.
I'm glad that you put that way, because there are hard limits. Like, obviously the 10 Commandments, like thou shalt not kill, you know, or thou shalt not murder, you know, thou shalt
actually the commandment is kill.
Is it kill? Okay.
It is. And the Bible also comes with some exceptions to that. You know, like the self-defense, capital punishment.
Yeah.
They violate the rule is hard and fast, but rules naturally come with exceptions. They have to. The 25 mile an hour speed limit is a rule, but it's not hard and fast. The spirit of the law is public safety. You don't want a kid running out in a residential neighborhood and you plow them down.
Yeah, that is interesting, because life is a lot more complicated than just a yes or no answer.
And the one size fits all command sometimes is adapted in your situation by principles. I wouldn't hesitate to kill somebody that's coming after my family, to kill them.
I don't think anybody would.
Right. But I would kill, and that would be violation of what this commandment explicitly says.
Yeah. And
So-
that is the thing that I like about God, is that He thinks of those things. You know what I mean? And isn't simply legalistic about it. It's like, well, I killed him to protect my family. You still killed someone though.
Let me just express this thought that I've had lately about the Ten Commandments, because it's in the news. I think it was Alabama or Texas or something was going to put it in all the school classrooms and all that. The Ten Commandments is the literally bare minimum of what humans are supposed to do, right? So you have anger in your heart. I have hatred in my heart toward a brother. That is the sin that eventually will grow to the point of killing him, right?
Okay.
And so it's the commandment is do not kill. It doesn't say do not slap around, right?
Yeah.
So the Ten Commandments were put there because if people were just going to that extreme, society would break down, right? So what is the core essence of God's spirit of the law behind thou shalt not kill? what it is thou shalt do everything you can all the time to be a blessing to help your brother's life flourish, right? You take his life because you hate him, but if you love him, you want to bless his life. So the command is really love your neighbor, and killing is just God saying, okay, I'm going to put an arbitrary limit on you doofuses that keep wanting.
Yeah, no,
but
that's
you know, so just because you follow the Ten Commandments doesn't really mean you've accomplished being a good Christian.
yeah. And that is interesting, yeah, because this is more talking about like I would almost argue the physical stuff as opposed to like spiritual condition stuff as well. Like, doesn't Jesus in the New Testament like expound on a lot of these and say like I'm trying to remember what it was, but he was talking about like when he says do not murder, he says like looking at somebody and with like anger.
If you're angry at your brother, you're guilty. And in the context of you have heard that the ancients learned it this way: you shall not kill, and therefore you justify yourself the way that the rule. I haven't killed anybody. Well, I tell you that if you're angry at your brother, you're guilty.
Okay, yeah.
And it goes on with this might be better for temptation. It goes on with the adultery and the lust, right? You were told in the olden days, you better not commit adultery. Well, think about it. If everybody's committing adultery, society breaks down. You know, so if Jesus says, if you look lustfully at a woman, you've committed adultery in your heart.
So it's more that's more like preventing the worst case scenario. Like,
yeah.
When you have rules on like the spiritual part, like hate, lust, love, like you have those rules on the spiritual part that prevents all the physical like chaos that could ensue from adultery and murder.
Yeah, so what you're saying then
exactly.
is, obviously, if you nip it in the bud, like on the spiritual side, you wouldn't even have to, in a sense, you wouldn't even have to worry about the Ten Commandments because you'd already be fulfilling them anyways. In a perfect world,
and the Ten Commandments are like a low bar. What really God wants is you to love the person and make their life flourish.
Yeah.
You know, stealing is a sinful desire to have something belongs to somebody else, or coveting, right? So wanting that person to be blessed by their property and helping them to protect their property and maybe donating some more property that they can enjoy, that's the opposite of taking it from them.
Yeah.
Right? So you being a generous person is really the command. And that's what makes you a better Christian, is you're generous and kind. Not that you haven't killed anybody.
That's true, yeah. It's like, yeah, I haven't...
At least I haven't killed you. I just beat the snot out of you, that's all.
I beat up kids for fun, but I haven't killed anybody, so I mean, like, I'm good. I don't know what you want from me.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was the least convincing way to say
Okay. I do this a lot. I do that a lot.
That's why you're like... That's funny.
I swear I do that so often. Like I like think deeply or whatever, and it's like I want to tell you that I thought that was funny, but I'm still thinking about it. Like
I swear,
that was really funny.
I've seen you do that like 5 times at this point. I've called you out at every time, but it's just, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It's funny for me.
Yeah, that was funny.
Except for me, I actually laugh when I say it. So I'm more of a joyful person than you, apparently.
Wow.
Or maybe I'm just not as deep a thinker. I don't know. One of the two.
I tend to do that a lot, where it's like, I just tell them that it was funny and I don't laugh.
I've seen you do that, I think, at Crew a bit as well. Anyways, I'm not trying to make you self-conscious or anything, I'm sorry.
No, I've done that, and I recall myself doing that. So, it's funny that... See how... It was a little giggle. It's funny that you mentioned it.
It was a little giggle, it's okay.
It's also just an adjective I use instead of being like... I just say like, oh, that was kind of funny. Or instead of saying that's interesting or that's neat, I just say, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. That's funny, I guess.
That's my excuse.
Anyways.
For not laughing.
My gosh. Okay. I did want to just throw in a final little comment about his Ten Commandments stuff, and I noticed you said it being the bare minimum. which I mean, after reading the rest of the Bible, I agree. But from what it sounds like when you first read it, it's, well, I mean, again, I feel like I should know all of this stuff, but I'm still like just cracking open the entirety of my Bible for the first time. So I mean, like, it's, bear with me if I'm saying a lot of things like, doesn't it say here and stuff, like, this is why I have you on here, is so that you can actually say yes or no. But I immediately just lost every thought in my head. But I was, okay, cover for me, say something. Oh my gosh, this is
I thought you were
sad.
gonna say I recall, and then you forgot what you
Thank
recalled.
you. Yeah, I did. I was going to. The idea that was mentioned before about incremental, the urge to sin isn't always blatant in your face. It's incremental, nibbling at you, and eventually gets through and corrupts you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what it was now.
Okay,
if you
go
don't
for
mind.
it.
Okay, yeah. So,
But don't let me forget what I just said.
well, too late now. Now it's gone for me too. We'll just be playing a little.
No,
Ricochet
no,
this
you
time.
did not forget it. You go for it.
No, yeah. On your comment about saying the Ten Commandments were the bare minimum, it's interesting you say that, but I also recall Jesus saying something like the Ten Commandments weren't designed to, like, be the
End all be all?
yeah.
Okay.
To be the end all be all, or like the place where the buck stops. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But they were also kind of like designed to show us that it's impossible to measure up to God. So I'm curious as to how you justify
Okay,
those
so
two.
I would say that the idea that the Ten Commandments were given to draw you to Jesus, show you have the need, is probably Galatians 3,
Okay.
where you're thinking about the law was our tutor to lead us to Christ.
Okay.
It also says in Galatians 3 that the promise came 400 years before the law. The law doesn't exempt the promise. The promise is we'll be saved through Abraham's offspring, Jesus. All the nations of the world will be blessed, and that salvation is irrespective of our obedience to the law.
Okay.
So the law, I think the law was a guideline so that Israel would, they needed to be knocked upside the head because, so the verse says, why the law then? You know, if
Is
you're-
this still Galatians 3?
yeah, why the law then?
Oh, I found it.
Why the law then? It was added because of
Mhm.
transgressions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what transgressions were there before the law was even there?
Probably the law.
The law wasn't there yet.
Or, I mean, the transgressions of the law.
The transgressions of what? You can't transgress a law that's not been given, right? It's illegal to wear eyeglasses in the future, but right now you're wearing them. Are you transgressing? No, the law isn't given yet. So when Moses came down from the mountain with the law was given. All right. Before, why was the law given? Because of the transgressions that were happening. What was happening? What was the revelation that God gave that was being violated?
Well, so what?
And
Was
that
there
answer,
no-
the answer is Genesis 1.
Okay.
We're created in the image of God. And so if you disrespect, treat badly an image of God, well, that's a violation of...
Okay, because I was literally about to just ask, I'm like, so then what law was there before that then?
Well, the progression of God's moral will was, don't eat from this tree. That was violated, right?
Man.
Spread out and cover the world. They huddled together and moved as a mass in humanity. Genesis 11, he confused languages. Right after the flood, you can now eat animals, and capital punishment is instituted. So there's an incremental growth of rules as man needed them. God gave them.
Okay.
Now, Israel had a special mission. The nation had to produce the scriptures and the Savior. And that would take about 1,500 years from the time that it became a nation. Okay, so imagine surviving 1,500 years with everybody murdering and and stealing all the time. So God put those laws in as a safeguard and said, you teach your children these, write them on your doorposts, and whatever you're getting up, when you're lying down, you teach your sons to obey this stuff, because you got 1,500 years to survive. You better not collapse as a nation, or the world doesn't have a savior.
Yeah.
So I think that's why God gave that law.
Is to show how important it was that they simply survived as a society on top of other things, obviously.
Yeah.
As a preemptive measure to Jesus coming.
Yeah, to enable Israel to live long enough to bring into the Messiah into the world and to complete the Scriptures. That had to be the case. Obviously, it's implicit in that you are image of God. I should respect you.
Yeah.
Right? I shouldn't lie to you and steal from you and beat you up. That's totally contrary.
Thing to assume,
yeah, totally contrary. So if Israel's acting that way, God nipped it in the bud by giving them this law. These are the inviolable rules I want you to follow. Right.
That just gave me an interesting idea for another topic. It'd be very, very bizarre to say the least, but now I'm curious about, like, you've heard the, I'm sorry, this is off topic, but we've already been here for 45 minutes, so we're cutting the episode off soon anyways. I have a bunch of random stuff I want to ask now.
Okay.
Like, first off, you saying that these laws, like, are inherently applied as a result of us all being made in the image of God, and as a result need to respect each other as we would respect God. Probably not pray to each other, obviously, but I think you know what I'm saying, and just have a basic sense of decency with other people.
Yeah. We're not God, we're copy beings.
Yeah.
Be nice to the copies.
Oh, man. But yeah, I am curious, though, like, you've heard that whole, like, violence in video games thing thrown around, and I'm curious now what the, because I've heard people...
Moral implications of, like, slasher films and...
Well, that, and,
brutal.
like, I'm more thinking of, like, video games and stuff, where, like, you are the one doing the action. Like, for example, I know the game Grand Theft Auto, obviously, I'm sure you've heard of it as well. Literally the game that comes under fire constantly from the media for being the one that caused a bunch of violence and stuff, and it's like a crime simulator. How does that work? I think that'd be an interesting topic to cover, because, like, on one hand, none of it's real. There's no real image of God in it. But at the same time, you could absolutely make the argument that it's not going to help you in your real life as well. So I think that'd be an interesting thing to cover.
I would apply the principles of Christian liberty to it, right? So when you have a command, no killing, that's a boundary that God has set, right? No killing. Okay. But inside the area where you haven't crossed over those boundaries, you have principles to apply. What is your motive deep down in life? To be more devoted and useful to God, or to enjoy yourself with more video games and whatnot? So, is it wrong to play video games? No. Does it approach foolishness or inappropriateness when you're up until 4 a.m. playing video games, and then you got to get up at 8 to be sharp at work?
Yeah.
Right. So there's principles apply.
Oh yeah.
And use your best thinking without respect to what another person would judge about your choices. You're making your choices for God.
Okay.
Not to be in with your buddies.
Yeah.
But you use your best thinking. Apply your desire to be a better Christian to that thinking, and make a choice. And maybe I advised a lady to keep smoking one time.
What?
I did. She was a smoker. She wanted to quit. I advised her to keep smoking. The reason why.
Okay.
She was an alcoholic. Her husband had called me and said, "Will you talk to my wife? If you can't get her to stop drinking, I mean, she leaves our baby with a stranger to go get booze." Okay. And I'm like, went over and talked to her, and I said, "This is a serious problem. You're going to lose your family over this." And she said, "I know." Well, tell you what, I will quit smoking first, because I can't quit two things at once. and then I'll quit drinking. No.
Okay, that may, yeah.
You quit drinking. And she said, okay, you're right, I'll quit drinking. This is my last bottle. No. The last bottle you had was your last bottle. Pour it out. And she poured it out.
Wow, she did?
She did. She poured it out.
Interesting.
Now, that was it was a deacon in my former church's son who called me about his wife, and I talked to her, and she poured it out, and I heard for the next several months when I was at that church, they were doing much better.
Hey, good for them.
It could be years. I don't know. I haven't heard in years that there'd been a relapse or not.
Yeah. But there's a direction. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope. I hope. And so it might be right to continue smoking for her. Mm-hmm. I mean, just overburden her with what she can't handle, and demand cold turkey on both. I don't think that would be a setup for success. So
yeah.
I applied principles, helped her to apply principles for herself.
Okay. Final question here before you wrap this up. If you can keep your answer concise, that'd be preferred, but if you can't, we'll carry it over to the next episode. Because I know you like to talk. No, well, that's why I have you on here.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
What's funny is I like to listen, so that's why I think I've been pretty quiet this whole podcast. I love listening.
Good.
Well, you have good stuff to say, too.
Yeah. From what you were saying about, like, not quitting both at once, and if she thought... Well, I mean, do you think she thought that smoking was detrimental to her as well?
She wanted to quit both.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, I've heard some people say as well, in terms of just, like, getting over stuff, sometimes it's best to just completely go cold turkey, never touch it again. Sometimes it's best to, like, almost kind of, like, wean yourself off it. But in that way of weaning yourself off it, that seems to be implying that there's, like, a necessary evil to get out of the bigger evil. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta keep doing it, but lesser and lesser until
let's
you
say
don't.
all things in moderation are within a Christian's prerogative.
Okay.
So, moderate drinking, I'm not going to complain about it, right? When it becomes a problem, it's gone too far.
Okay.
You got to be a steward of that. Moderate smoking, I mean, it might calm your nerves at a time when you need it, or whatever. I'm not saying you, but
Yeah,
I know
what you mean.
So all things in moderation are fine. Where are your areas where you're exceeding the proper, or you're endangering, or you're risking, having a greater fall?
Okay, so you're saying then that it's not a necessary evil so much as it is getting more in line with God by figuring out what is best.
I wouldn't even go as far as to say drinking or smoking is a sin. Getting drunk, losing your capacity to be reasonable, getting in trouble, that's a sin.
Yeah.
But moderate drinking may not be a sin. Jesus turned water into wine, right? Smoking may not be a sin. There's nothing in the scripture that says so. It's probably a bad idea. Can a Christian have a bad idea? Well,
we're human beings.
Yeah, and
I don't know what to say other than that.
Put it in terms of vacations. Once in a while, you need a vacation. It's good for your soul. You go and you get some rest and relaxation, and you come back and you're invigorated.
Yeah.
What if you are just addicted to traveling, and you just gotta go and gotta go? You're restless, and you're impoverishing yourself with all the travel. You're being a bad employee with all the travel. A vacation is a good thing. Too much of a good thing becomes a not so good thing.
That's fair, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to have a relationship with the Lord, and this is the temptation link. Have a relationship with the Lord where you can talk to Him about this stuff, and He can work on you about some certain things.
Okay. So
and then you can make some strategic choices to veer away from something that's occupying too much of your time or taking too much of your money, and figure out better uses for that time and money.
That's just it. I just kind of made some synapses just connected in my brain here, where I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm almost thinking then that this like moderation thing, if it's something that you genuinely think that you genuinely can go to God or go before God and just talk about and be like, hey, am I doing this too much? Am I not? Should I hold off or should I do it more? I think that's the best thing. Like if it's something where you don't want to talk to God about, say, all the vacations you're taking or something like that, because you know it's going to be no,
There you
yes,
go.
or yes, you are taking too many, that's probably a sign that you should probably back off a little bit.
Wow.
What is it?
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, the
that's
double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Man.
Right? So you have a double mind. You love the vacations or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you love God. And you can serve one master, you know,
you can't really do both
at a time. Right. Yeah, very good point.
If you're afraid to talk to God about it, then it's something that you should be talking to God about.
Yeah, and that's the thing that always trips me up too. There's a lot of stuff, like, I've had some crazy stuff go on the last month. I'll leave it at that. But I have not wanted to talk to God about it at all until very recently. And when I finally did, I realized how much I really should have talked to God 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what took me so long there, but...
Let me suggest our next podcast, we bring Peter into the picture, because it's so relevant.
All right, we can do that. We still have covered a whopping 1 question out of 3 in this section, so...
That's what happens.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
no, I think this is great because
It's
I
a
feel
deep
like
dive.
Yeah, I feel like we've... I don't want to say glossed over topics, but I don't feel like we've dived into them as much as we could have. This is kind of what I want the podcast to be. I want to spend like 20 episodes on a topic. I think this would be great,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Because it's not even one topic, it's...
Well, yeah,
It's at first it's a multiple topics.
But it's,
That's true,
it's
yeah,
related
'cause-
to temptation this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think temptation, obviously, being kind of a vague term, you know what I mean? In terms of just like, well, maybe not vague in so much as it just covers a lot of material. Like, it's kind of the devil's whole shtick, you know? It's like what we need to combat against the instigator towards evil in the world, I think at least. Maybe I'm just saying things to sound grandiose or something here, but that's just what I think of it as. Temptation is the gateway to the sin that got us here in the first place. So, anyways, on that note, we'll cap this episode off here. Thanks so much, everyone, for showing up to yet another episode of People in the Room. I just realized now we forgot to introduce ourselves at the very beginning. I'm
John. Ben.
And I'm Ben, yeah.
Yeah, Matt.
I was gonna put the text in the very beginning of the episode, but okay, we can do it here, I guess.
You can do it however you
do
want.
it.
Look,
You are
there's
the editor.
There's the text for my name right up
Oh,
there.
there's my name tag right there. Oh.
The
I'm gonna
editor
write
in
something
chief.
else for you.
No. Well, I'm not this whenever he called me, okay?
Whatever.
That's not
you-
me.
Yeah, no. Now I'm gonna write that.
You know what? While you're at
Wait,
it,
well,
You're
maybe
just
that is me.
you're
Oh my
screwed
God.
either way. Dude.
while you're at it and labeling us with text on the screen, put a thought bubble in there and like, I don't know about that guy. You know, whatever's in the thought bubble.
I'm just gonna write Spock Enjoyer on top. Anyways, thanks everyone so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. God bless. Love you all. See ya.